who's here with us now on Zoom. My name is Geneva Blackmer, and I'm the program director for the Interfaith Center. We're located at the Miami University campus in Oxford, Ohio. And our mission is to invite people from diverse religious, spiritual, and secular backgrounds to participate in one another's practices in order to cultivate appreciative understanding and to build friendships and relationships, as well as to unify them around common moral, social, and ethical concerns in order to build a more just and equitable society. And this is a program that we are currently offering every month on the third Friday of every month, same time, same Zoom link. So 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific with Zen Master Ji Haeng. So really happy to have all of you here with us today and to have Zen Master Ji Haeng here with us again. For those who haven't met him before, Zen Master Ji Haeng, which translates to wisdom action, serves as both the abbot and guiding teacher of the Zen Center of Las Vegas. He began his formal Zen training with the Quantum School of Zen in the mid-1980s and received Inka, which is a Buddhist term meaning authority to teach, from the famous Korean Zen master Sunsong on April 6, 2002. After 12 years of training, he received formal dharma transmission and became a Zen master at a ceremony in Providence, Rhode Island on April 5th, 2014. He is currently the guiding teacher for the Isthmus Zen community in Madison, Wisconsin, the Prairie Earth Zen Center in Topeka, Kansas. And prior to the pandemic, frequently traveled to both of these centers to lead meditation retreats and still does so virtually. He's also served as a guiding teacher in Vancouver, British Columbia, has led retreats in Denver, Los Angeles, Pittsburgh, Fairbanks, Cambridge, Chicago, Miami, and Tallahassee. He is a frequent Buddhist lecturer and has led classes and retreats in Malaysia and Singapore. And he also taught an Introduction to Zen Buddhism course at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas for 15 years before retiring, and initiated a Zen meditation program at one of the federal prisons in Las Vegas, which had one of the highest participation rates in the facility before the prison was closed in 2006. So I'm really happy to welcome you back, Zen Master Ji Haeng, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you. Thanks to everyone for joining us.
Thank you for your introduction. I get tired just hearing it, like all this stuff, like, all right, enough already. But I'll be 75 a week from tomorrow. So it's coming up, and it's like the Buddha said, like a flash of lightning on a summer's eve. Time will not wait for us. This is long life, short life, little difference. Both are but moments in time. So welcome everybody. We've been kind of adapted to this thing where I've been writing a weekly blog, and it comes out usually on a Monday morning. And so every time I've done this class, I write it very early. So you're not going to get last Mondays. You guys get the new one here. And it's kind of interesting. I have something to say about that too. Like my teacher, Zen Master Sung-san, always said, live words and dead words. So if you're reading something already, that's dead words, right? But now I'm speaking sort of extemporaneously, see lots of good faces out there with the Zoom cameras and everything. And I genuinely heartfelt welcome to everyone for taking the time to be with me on this afternoon. So the live words and dead words is an important point. But the finger pointing at the moon story is very valuable from the standpoint of that, like Katagiri Roshi once said, he was in Minnesota, Katagiri says, you got to say something. You have to, I was just sitting there, and we'll be doing some of that too in a minute, just practicing meditation. But so I'm going to read this quickly through this new blog and then maybe comment on it a little bit. And until we get a better idea, I think this kind of works because you have to say something. And I took the time to write this. So this particular blog is about the Caodong school. I know I'm pronouncing it pretty close, Caodong, which is Chinese. And if this were Japan, it would be the Soto Zen. There's Rinzai and then there's Soto. Rinzai uses koans or kongans, and Soto is just sitting, as they call it. Oftentimes it's like shikantaza. So you back that up through to China, and one of the original founders of the Keidong school, shikantaza, just sitting, was Zen Master Hongji. And he once wrote, compassion. Now I'm starting to read this. These are the dead words. Okay, everybody ready? Okay. Compassion is the function of wisdom. Illumination is the function of silence. Also, the tea master Senrikyu wrote, the way of tea is naught but this. First you boil water, then you make tea and drink it. So it just oozes simplicity in our lives, and we complicate our lives through a lot of thinking. We're always, trying to do these constructs in our mind of self-definition, who we are. We define ourselves through this ego, sometimes very subtly. We're not always walking around thinking we're better than everybody else or inferior to everyone else, but subtly there's a give and take, and we're always at this mold. We're molding and structuring. Okay, so I'll continue. When we align body, breath, and mind, our lives then become like the oft-used example of a mirror, effortlessly reflecting images without intention or a like-dislike picking and choosing mind. We respond to situations and conditions while interacting with others in a completely relaxed and effortless way. When one realizes this, time has no limits. And when experienced, your surroundings come to life. So just one comment already here. Responding rather than reacting to situations and conditions is a normal, our normal everyday activity. If we're present and we're not lost in our thinking, then the formal part of our discipline, our meditation, however form that takes for all of you, maybe sitting 10 minutes in the morning or doing some bows, lighting some incense, becoming quiet. That's something you set up for yourself, and it's very good. But the line I wrote here, when one realizes this, time has no limits, because time actually begins when we think. If we're not thinking, time doesn't exist. It's very interesting. Out of the centuries-old Japanese tea culture came the phrase Wabi-Sabi, which roughly translates as the satisfaction with simplicity. Although right now you are reading these words, well, I'm reading them, when the mind drops the compulsion to fill itself with words, it becomes bright and clear. This is simplicity. When word silence is achieved, time has no duration. The nonstop filling of each moment with our compulsive streaming thought patterns results in an awareness of time. I just said that in a different way, commenting. When there are no thoughts, neither is there time. Timelessness is samadhi. Some people say samadhi, we're reading from Japan now, so that's the way they would pronounce it. One night, Zen Master Tai Su had just sat down to meditate when he heard the temple's evening bell being struck. As the story goes, he immediately afterwards heard the distinctly different sequence that was the morning bell. Experiencing non-thinking is allowing thoughts to come and go without clinging. The whole night had passed, during which Taisu had no sense of any time duration. Now, there's a subtle difference here, with approach. I don't want anyone who's, we're streaming and everything, anyone to be confused by this. If we suppress thoughts or don't want to think about something, you're still engaged with this like, dislike, opposites thinking. the third patriarch, says, the time honored thing, or third ancestor is more correct to say it these days. That just avoid, if you want to attain the true way, just avoid picking and choosing. So when we're constantly engaged in that is when we have time, which speeds up, slows down. If you're at an airport waiting for your significant other, the time can go very slowly, right? If you're out having a meal with a friend, then wow, an hour and a half went by. Where did the time go? And you were just enjoying and laughing and telling stories. So again, from Hongji, the founder of this Keidong school, he says, silently and serenely, one forgets all words. Clearly and vividly, everything appears, then disappears. So that's the key that unlocks this door to what that Zen master found. He heard the evening bell, thoughts came and went, but there was no attachment, no clinging, no taking one idea and running with it and creating a mental movie about it. That's the subtle difference that I wanted to make sure that was clear to everyone. The breath practice that I have encouraged now for months in this space is a splendid method for becoming settled. However, just like practicing a musical instrument, you must make a firm decision with a resolve to practice every day. A sporadic approach will render your practice lifeless. The amount of time you spend in meditation is not nearly as important as your daily commitment, preferably at relatively the same time each day. So you get into like a discipline thing. Once in Providence, Rhode Island, I was there, and Zen Master Sung San was giving a talk. This is early on. I was young once. This was way back then. Right? So I'm in my 30s and I'm just starting. And somebody said, Zen Master Sung San, when I first started practicing with you, I used to see you every 2 weeks or so. And then that became elongated because now we have a couple Zen centers in the Midwest, Chicago, and in Kansas. And so then it became once a month or once every 6 weeks. And now you like to be in LA and up in Seattle. And now it's like once every 3 months. And I don't know if I really want you to be my teacher anymore because I see you so infrequently. I have to be engaged with this. And without missing a beat, Zen Master Sung San said, let your schedule be your teacher. And Shodo Harada Roshi takes this even the same idea and expands by saying, using a phrase, if you're a woman, the queen is in. If you're a man, the king is in. And all that means is that you get up in the morning and without any rhyme or reason or plan or agenda, you're inviting all sorts of things to enter your mind stream and the mental movie and emotional feeding of that, like get into maybe during COVID time, a little bit of depression, a little anxiety about your financial things. So the king or the queen being in is like, boom, this is what you do, keeping your life direction clear by establishing that discipline of a practice modality. And again, the amount of time is not as important as the consistency. The world, I'm almost done with this. The world may insist that you, quote, make something of yourself, end quote, driving you into some vortex of ego accomplishment, stressing over and over an I, my, me, that is smothering your being, your creativity, just being open. It's true. This isn't like, when you say make something of yourself, yeah, we have a schedule, but we're not attached to the results. That's the point. We have this, the king is in, the queen is in. So it's not a contradiction of that. It's a fulfillment of just, not goal-oriented, making something of yourself, but just keeping your life direction clear. Our true purpose in this life is to realize Buddha nature as it is sometimes referenced. There is no exclusivity with this comment. In Christianity, it is known as the Christ mind or Christ consciousness, the same. And there have been many, many teachers. I like the Christian mystics of the 12th and 13th century because their language was so poetic, and it really hit the whole thing also. And the dewdrops, here, I'm the closing line here. The dewdrops on the tips of 10,000 grasses manifest the ancestors' true meaning. Time will not wait for you. In original nature, there is no this and no that. The great round mirror has no likes or dislikes. See clearly that your thoughts and feelings are not who you are. No comment yet from the canine group. Eddie, you will never find the truth of the 10,000 grasses in things that you attach to that are continuously arising and passing away. Undo the illusion of a separate self that is no more than an unstable collection of ideas and images in your thinking. Simply put, these are no more than a phantom in a dream, as the Buddha once stated. So that's it. As per usual, we will meditate, right? Geneva, we should do the meditation now. And if somebody during the time has some comment, question, or anything about what I read or wants to add something once we're through, because sometimes we get a little bit late and we really don't meditate. And I get this look from, Eva there at the University of Miami saying, like, like one of these things, hello, we're supposed to be meditating here, not talking so much. So I will get the chugpee. This is a chugpee, and it'll be hit 3 times. And we will do a short meditation of 25 minutes tops, and then be back and have a further conversation. And you're invited then to comment as well. Okay, here we go. Okay. So during the sitting, I was talking about, the dropping away thinking mind, but a very important anecdotal thought occurred based on today's theme. There was a great Chinese from Taiwan, Zen Master Sheng Yen. He wrote quite a few books, and they practiced also this Keidong, but the modern English interpretation is silent illumination. So probably a bunch of you have heard that phrase as well, which is shikantaza, just sitting, but silent illumination. And what's important for me to say about that is he would begin like almost like a guided meditation with his students, always in the beginning, relaxing every part of their body, beginning with the fontanelle, the top of your head, all the way down through both legs and into your feet and into the ground, being grounded, so to speak. And and here's the important thing. He would always say that if you don't have time to completely like guide yourself through this relaxing of facial muscles and this and that, there are three important areas that when you begin to sit meditation out of the whole body, you should keep in mind. One is the space between your eyebrows, because a lot of us get into thinking and we start frowning and pushing that together somehow, as if by doing that gesture, it means we're concentrating harder on something, which is really not the case. So you don't need that, that theater there. Just relax here, and your shoulders, big part, also shoulders, and your abdominal, your stomach. Keep that very, very relaxed. And we want to breathe all the way down deeply into that area. Of course, we only breathe into our lungs, but it's almost like we're taking this tidal breath way down into what's referenced as Dantian, Hara, Dantian in China, Hara in Japan, and Tonjan in Korean. Same area. So it's like our focal point. That's the fulcrum of our, the clock. Swinging the hand on the clock, grandfather clock, that not moving center, so to speak. But we don't tighten it up. Keep it loose. Breathe into there. And actually, if you practice at this, you develop what is called in Zen an embryonic breath. And what are they alluding to? Is that actually, if someone is really strongly samadhi mind practicing, you can't tell whether they're breathing in or out because there's no shoulder movement, obviously, but your belly actually stays the same. Usually people, when they first start practicing breathing into that area, it's like a bellows. The breath expands when it goes in, and then as you exhale, your stomach concaves a little bit and comes in. But the embryonic breath, this takes a little bit of practice, doesn't move, okay? Doesn't move. Breathe in, and then when you exhale, you're almost like pushing a little bit against the diaphragm, but you keep that same position, Also in breath and out breath, same style. Okay, anybody comment, criticism? I'm open for everything. Come on, let's do it. Or they have a question. Any of it.
If anyone has a question, you can unmute yourself or to type it in the chat if you feel more comfortable doing so.
Where do we know where everybody's kind of from? That's a good thing, like too, parts of the country. I don't know exactly. I know where Geneva Blackmer is because she announced it, but I know He's living out there and helps me a lot with these things.
Well, Rebecca is also from Oxford.
Oh, great. Hi, Rebecca.
I'm Jim Hafner. I'm from Kansas City, Missouri.
Kansas City, yeah.
And in the past years back, I attended the Rimi Buddhist Center and engaged in meditation there with their services and their classes and that. And I kind of felt, and I may have a difficult time expressing myself with this, but I would feel like I was exhilarated with that and kind of was waiting or feeling like I was going to have a transformational experience.
Uh-huh.
And part of my hesitancy in continuing would be I was apprehensive about losing my sense of passion and dedication. And yet I would miss that. And so I wasn't sure, I've gone through periods before, and right now I'm retired and I'm kind of been engaged in a life review, kind of stimulated by music that I listen to and that, and going back and sometimes having very emotional kind of an emotional tsunami of reflecting back on life and that, what was right, wrong, that sort of thing. And I don't know how to get past that where I continued to do it. And I know it's beneficial. I feel so grounded when I do, and I've engaged in it before, but then it ends.
Okay, very good. Thank you for sharing that. The two quick things come to mind. One is, gosh, being from Kansas City and listening to music, it's got to be jazz. No, I'm all kidding, because I also am a musician. I recommend, actually, based on what you said, I recommend that you read Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now, because he takes you out of this life reflection modality and away from defining yourself. We're always defining ourselves in terms of who we are, our life, whether we achieve certain goals and all. In Zen, they say it's like taking a single step off of 100-foot flagpole. Now, Mr. Tolle has, very wide, listening audience for his many videos on YouTube, but there's nothing that is different from anything that the great teachers actually emphasized in his words. The sixth ancestor, Huineng, was an illiterate woodcutter. He used to go up and find dead trees and cut them and haul this big knapsack down the mountain and sell this wood to merchants back in the 6th century, and couldn't read, never went to school, couldn't write. So it was like he heard this monk once reciting from the Diamond Sutra, abiding nowhere, wisdom mind arises. So this abiding nowhere is not getting stuck and caught in our thinking. And in a way, even though Eckhart Tolle, you can't look back and say, well, he, spent 15 years at a monastery somewhere. No, he didn't. But it just like Huineng and like the great jazz musicians Stan Getz and Louis Armstrong too, there was a gift there that transcended. They didn't go to conservatory and learn the ins and outs of their art. It just appeared for them. And the more attached we are to our own thinking, the harder it becomes. And Jim, I made the same kind of assessment. I had this really sort of big opening. Well, when I say big, it lasted about 3 days back in 1977. Okay. And wow, saw everything very clearly. And then it drifted away. I got back into the daily routine and paying bills and running the household and raising 2 kids. And I spent a lot of time trying to go back and recapture that. It's a waste of time. We only have this moment. So if you're going to do that, then be ready to experience some of the suffering that comes along with it, because the Diamond Sutra also says past mind is ungraspable. It's residue. We only think of it from this moment going backwards. We're right here, right now, thinking about the past. Also, future mind is ungraspable because it's only a projection. Some of this is good. Maybe we'll lift some of the restrictions for travel and visiting with people in the pandemic, and you get to visit family a little bit. And it's overdue, of course. You know, like we all been through this over a year now. And when we get enough vaccinations, then hopefully that day will appear. But it's still a projection. You know, wondering what it's going to be like to see your cousin again. And matter of fact, Rose, my cousin calls me every day. He lives in Fort Lauderdale, you know, and he complains a lot about your governor. So it shows where he is politically. But he's a little worried. He's in his 70s too, and he's worried about, you know, the spring break and maybe a spike. So anyway, I don't want to go off topic, but you know, for Jim, that's just try that. Don't try to fill the space when you're meditating. If you come across a little bit of a section where no thinking is appearing, we always try to fill in those holes, thinking that that's what makes us feel alive. But I say those empty moments are like Peter Pan, Tinkerbell, the little dust, this, you know, wonderful a thing where she's just a little bit could last you through the whole day, this openness, and you become like empty, like the whole universe. But it isn't really empty. It's just that everything is changing and impermanent, and we really feel the flow of all of life. And like I said, in Zen, they say it's like taking a single step off of a 100-foot flagpole. You just have to be prepared to just go into this next moment, not trying to put an agenda to it or a thought process, which we're so accustomed to doing. Human beings, our whole consciousness is going to have to undergo a sort of paradigm shift for the survival of humanity. I mean, so that's now my opinion, because there's 8 billion people. We have this pandemic thing. Everybody thinks going back to normal is like having all these airplanes at any given time in the air, thousands of them, and traveling all around. I think Zoom, like what we're doing now, you know, is necessity is the mother of invention. It will hopefully replace people flying from LA to Boston for a board meeting, you know, from some company. So I hope that helps, you know, and that just throw it away. Like Harada Roshi, who I study with up in Whidbey Island in Seattle, he would always use this phrase, cut and let go, cut and let go. When you feel yourself being pulled into that vortex of your life and reflection and perhaps anxiety and unfulfilled, you know, things that you were hoping you would have accomplished, that's all unnecessary. You know, it's speculative. Like now here, I mean, the showrooms and everything aren't open in Las Vegas, but even if they were open, I'm not, you know, and if I were offered a job at Cirque du Soleil to play one of those shows, very good money, I wouldn't do it. You know, it's more important not to do that. But I practice every day. I practice music every day. So why do I do it? It'd be like meditation. It's a spiritual thing. I'm always doing that, and I'm following that schedule. Like I told that story about Zen Master Sung San. Let the schedule be your teacher. Okay. So hopefully, anybody else have any comment or?
Looks like Morgan has her hand up.
Yes.
I do. Sorry, I do. Thank you very much for all of your teaching. I've been through so much in life. I've been through 6 brain operations and 25 staples in my abdomen. And I can't even begin to tell you everything. My life has been so hard. But at one point, I'm in Oregon, and I was driving. At that point, I lived in California. I was driving through Oregon, and I had the most amazing sudden sense of the preciousness of life, that it was a beautiful, beautiful gift. And I should be deeply, deeply grateful. And it just infused me, this sense of the numinous. And I didn't know whether it was place or whether it was me or what was going on, but it was a feeling of reverence. And I'm glad to hear you say, because I've never been able to recapture it. And I'm like, maybe I should go back up there.
Yeah.
It just was at the time, and it was a beautiful, illuminating moment.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to
Tinkerbell's dust. That's what
yeah,
that's
exactly.
what happened.
And
Yeah.
I find you so very helpful to me, because my life has just been from inception, just struggling, struggling, struggling. There hasn't been a moment of not struggling. And I think we just have a very ridiculous view of life in Western culture. And I think that's a blessing of COVID, is that we need to turn inward more. We're very outward. Television, entertainment, books for me, anything to get away from ourselves. And we need to see ourselves and be in touch with ourselves more. And so I think that's the hidden blessing of COVID. It allows time to be bored enough that the external, that you actually start listening and looking to the internal. And I just wanted to say that you need to tell people, or I need to tell people, about Sundays at 9, my time. I don't know what time it is in Las Vegas, but this master has meditation class Sundays at 9 Pacific time. I don't know what time that is in Kansas or anywhere else, but I find that very, very useful. And for those of you that are new faces, you'd certainly be welcome, and you'd find it very much like this. And for me, I get migraines, I get nerve pain. I have part of my intestine is missing in a midnight surgery two Octobers ago with 25 staples put in. I have so much pain, but the Sunday session, I never miss it, because it really helps to calm my body down. I don't like medication. I have to take medication because of my degenerative lung disease that's ongoing, because of my kidney donation. That's what I live on. Different blood type. But I find it very, very useful. So I just wanted, for those of you who are here who are new, to perhaps invite you to Sunday mornings at 9 my time. That's all.
Thank you. Where are you again, Em? Where?
I'm in Medford, Oregon, Southern Oregon.
Medford. Yeah. Okay.
I'm from Southern California. I grew up in inner city LA, and I'm having quite an adjustment with the white people. I just don't get a lot of them, and they don't get me. They think I'm harsh and not kind enough, and I think they're namby-pamby and not direct enough, and it's just like a clash. Yes, I know I'm white, but I don't think or speak like I'm white. I've never been part of my culture. I was brought up French and Irish. I wasn't French enough, and I wasn't Irish enough. But, and I'm certainly not Black, but that's the culture for me. So
Thank you for the kind words about Sunday morning. Everyone is invited. It's some of the same. Matter of fact, you don't have to be on screen if you choose not to, and you could have your coffee or tea by your side. My teacher, Zen Master Sung San, will end with this, because we always, Eva and I like to keep it to an hour, but so to invite you back, so it doesn't go too lengthy. My teacher said his whole life he taught only two things: don't know, which is we're not guaranteed retirement or this pension or longevity in any way, and that and together action. So together action meant just what we did for this last hour from for all of us. And, because there's certain kind of collective energy that happens that serves as an inspiration. It does for me. And I've been doing this over 30 years. So to say, that, it relaxes me on a Sunday morning and you have a lot of health issues, that's really appreciated to hear that. And at the same time, for me as well, as I face the aging process, like someone said, "Hey, 75, huh? You're in the fourth quarter, baby." It's, this is, it's not halftime, you know. And kidding around, of course, but it's true, and our life does go by, you know, fairly quickly, you know.
A friend of mine who was in his 80s, my husband's best friend is 88. But a friend of mine who was in his 80s said, we all want to live together. We all want to live forever at 20. And for me, I had both my kidneys removed. I had donor kidney from a different blood type. And I was in a coma for a month. And I instantly, when I finally came out of the coma, which I had a 3% chance of living or less, it was like, okay, I now have the body of an 80-year-old. Only I couldn't see and I couldn't swallow and I had to learn to do all that. But the Buddhists have an expression that I love, which is that life is difficult. So celebrate your moments of joy because they're few and far between. And I think that is more, at least from my experience, of a realistic view of life. And I think a lot of people's hardships as they get older, and that whole thing about men when they're aging, breaking down and wanting a red Ferrari and another woman. I think it's just like you have this unrealistic expectation of what life will hold for you. And you suddenly realize you're on the other side of the hill. It hasn't been at all what you've expected. And it's a deep and abiding sadness. So that's all I have to say, because I can say too much.
Well, I know I speak for everybody that's present today, wishing you continued life and improvement in your health. And I'm sorry that you have some pain. I'll let Eva unmute and have the last words here.
Thank you, Zen Master Ji Haeng. So thanks to everyone for joining us. If you are interested in joining the Sunday meditation, that is 9 a.m. Pacific, which is 12 noon on the East Coast and 11 a.m. in Central Time if you're in Kansas City. And I run those Zoom meetings as well. I put the Facebook event page for this Sunday in the chat if anyone's interested in that. The Zoom link is in the Facebook event, so you can click on it through there, or you can reach out to me directly and I can get that to you. But again, we do these as well every third Friday of the month, same time, same Zoom link. So I hope you'll come back and join us again. And thank you so much to Zen Master Ji Haeng for your time and for continuing to offer this program to all of you. So thank you so much for being here with us today. Everyone have a great rest of your afternoon.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.